It says that we are live. We'll wait for a second or so to see whether we get uh, viewers. Yes, we have our first viewer. So we are live. Awesome. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to Momentum Office Hours. My name is Yash and I'm joined by my co-founders Jai and Kaushik to discuss topic of the week: how UX shapes generative AI adoption. Our goal is to provide you with actionable insights and practical strategies that you can apply to your own business. Throughout the session, we encourage you to engage with us by asking questions and sharing your thoughts. This is a fantastic opportunity to learn from each other and gain new insights that can help drive your initiatives forward. So let's get started. Jai, Kaushik, how are you doing today?
Good, nice. Finished as usual client meeting and working on things. Yeah,
Awesome.
doing the
Jai's
best.
background is better today. Jai, why is your background better today than the usual that we have at our office?
Yeah, because I'm traveling right now and I'm at one of our clients' suites and exploring new business initiatives as well. So has been quite hectic but very interesting. Learning new things, exploring new opportunities, and yeah, getting things
Wow,
ready.
visiting our client space and doing our work, which is which is another level of productivity, right? So
Yeah.
while I'm client side, I'm working on our own initiative. Awesome. But so tell me, Kaushik, like what's the topic about today? Why are we discussing this? Because when I read the title of the topic for the first time, it felt like there is only Sam Altman is the only person for whom this topic will make sense. So why are we talking about UX and generative AI? Tell us a little bit about this. Set this up.
Yeah. So the most common use case of AI adoption that we are seeing and which will be also is Gen AI adoption. So if you ask me, then what is the other adoption that exists? If that is the next question, is that so you have supervised learning, you have supervised learning. If I have to give you a very quick example, your spam filters is basically supervised learning. Basically, in input, you have a certain set of emails. The AI is trained upon a set of emails. Then you want the output to find out if this is spam or not. That is supervised learning. Your artificial intelligence used inside your self-driving cars is actually supervised learning. So you have what it does is it basically clicks images of everything around you, and then it also has radar, which gives relative positioning and depth between each object within the image, and that is the input that you're training the model on, and then the output that you want the model to give out is basically the what is the distance of the next car in front of me or the next object in front of me. So this is supervised learning, right? So which gives a predefined output that I want to know yes or no kind of a situation is what is happening. Generative AI is the new big shift in AI, right? Where you are giving an input, output is getting generated based on the input you gave. Neither the input is something that you planned or gathered together and then you are updating it, nor the output is something where not just one output, I can keep creating as many outputs as I can. Now and especially when Gen AI has came to an extent and level where it is being used across businesses in their platforms, across products in their platforms, the UX for how to design it and the UX for how should we help for the Gen AI the UX here also helps the platform to get better. So as right timing. So yeah, so that's what we are trying to understand. So what measures you need to take that will help for the product development internally also, where the UX plays a big role in this actually. So that's what we are discussing.
So just to sort of get on the same page. So like as an example, let's say if I'm a SaaS founder who's built a social media scheduling platform, right? Something like Buffer or something like Hootsuite. Um, and if I am if I am building capability within my social media scheduling platform for my users to be able to generate posts, right? Generate images for their social media, write captions for their Instagram, whatever the case may be. It would most likely be a wrapper of Chat GPT, or it will be a wrapper of some sort of other LLM, Llama or whatever. Um, However, the UX I will have to build it within my systems, right? Um, that UX is what we are talking about. Would that be a fair way to say it?
Yeah, the UX of the final application, it could be a web based interface, or it could be an app based interface, depends on the
Yeah,
use case that is there.
yeah,
But there are more nuances in it. Like for example, I give you one example, right? The output has come very often in your ChatGPT. Also, you will see the thumbs up and thumbs down symbol where
yeah.
every single that output is there. So how would you know? Why should even ChatGPT introduce that? Is that feedback is a huge part of
Hmm,
model development
hmm.
uh, with respect to the entire application itself. That's what makes the actual application better at serving you with giving you better outputs. Now, how do you design the UX? The UX of errors for Gen AI itself is a topic. So the way how we handled and designed errors previously versus how we have to design errors now itself is changing. So that those key differences is what we are talking about.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah. So Kaushik, I had this question. Largely, whatever Gen AI tools that we see, most of them are having this, chat interface. And now newly we also have the voice interface as well. But is it like mandatory, or like can you put on some light on when should someone prefer the chat interface over any other options?
It's a use case based again. You have we have three categories of this. Gen AI input output may we have input could be anything. The output could be text, it could be an image, it could be a voice, it could be a video, any of this, right? Most of the application is text to text, right? So you are inputting some text, you are the output that is getting generated is some text of some use to you. Now, in this, when it comes to chat is one aspect of it. There is writing, there is reading, then there is chat. So your use case could fall in any of this category. For example, if I am building a internal team HR assistant, where any employee who wants to ask anything about the company can immediately go need a place to go and ask something and get the right information, then that's a place where I need to build a chatbot over there. Now, let's say if I'm a restaurant who is trying to build a, based on the reviews that is coming on my restaurant at different platforms. It could be Zomato, it could be Swiggy, or anywhere, Google, or anywhere. I want a sentiment analysis that needs to be built, which basically gives me information that how many positive comments or reviews did I get in a day, and as well as how many negative reviews did I get in a day, and which part of the day did I get positive, which part of the day did I get negative. If I want that data, that you don't need a chat interface there. Rather, there it is a it's a representation, it's a graph or something like that that is being represented. So your use case decides what the final interface that needs to be. So chat is not a mandatory for everything. We are seeing more chat because of more chat being the general purpose web application. And also there's also one more reason. Most of the Gen AI adoption is currently happening in customer service, sales, product development, in those areas where chat is the majority use case. Now, let's say most of the
Yeah.
which is happening is that, but if once it starts having, it starts to happen in supply chain, it starts to happen in different areas. You'll start seeing
Yeah,
different.
yeah. And so, like, as an example, we have a client for whom generative AI was a canvas based use case, right? So which is where we were building mind maps and things like that, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so over there, generative AI was the response that you would get, or even the some parts of the prompting were also happening on like a, I don't know, it's called a canvas, right? Or a whiteboard of sorts, or like,
Like a Figma editor. Yeah.
yeah, like an editor, right? So there are different types of interfaces. Essentially, there are, so Jai, what you're talking about are prompt based use cases, which is where the chat interface sort of could work in a little
Yeah.
in a little bit. But then there are canvas based use cases, there are adaptive UI components, there are voice first interfaces also. uh, and so on and so forth. I think
Yeah, that's
interesting.
good. Well, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So another in terms of in terms of one of the challenges that I see a lot of SaaS founders trying to fix with building a wrapper on top of LLMs and then introducing those capabilities within their products is the challenge of latency, right? And while latency is a tech problem, but engineering and technology can only fix up to a certain extent, right? So it can, I mean, it'll become better when the technology becomes better, and which is what all of us can wait for, but the customers won't wait for it. Are there any UX ways of fixing for latency?
Yeah. So for this is where the need for the topic also is there. It's nice that you asked this question. So UX designers should also understand these concepts like latency and also what prompt engineering is and what the outcome is. Now, latency is related to prompt engineering. I'll tell you why. From a UX perspective. So I'm giving the quality of the output that I'm getting depends on the input that I have given. Now, you could optimize the UX in such a way that when you give a bad prompt, the chat interface or whatever it is there, it could ask questions that could build the prompt, and then eventually that gets submitted, and then the better output comes in. Now, this is one UX use case that we are trying to come up, right? Like, so you gave a 20% of a good prompt. What sort of questions need to come up such that it becomes a better prompt? So your interface, the UX is helping you to engineer the prompt itself, then it gets submitted, then it processes it. But the UX designer should come up with this idea. So you should say that, okay, fine,
Yeah,
we should have these kind of a pre-level where we should be able to help them build the prompt and then submit it. And also, let's say you have submitted the prompt, even at the output level, you could try to bring in multiple drafts of the output also same time. So such that every single time, instead of doing that extra click to for me to get a new output, you could create 4 outputs, which are 4 drafts, and your user can compare the drafts and choose the draft that they want to go ahead with. That could be another way. Now, these decisions are simple UX flows to make the latency. Now, circling back to your question, latency automatically becomes better if the input is better, and my user experience automatically becomes better once I'm given more options to choose from for the better one to pick from. So this both comes as a combination. So this is one way in which we could solve it. So these kind of initiatives, and also this is where errors also play a great role. Me giving good feedback. How do you get the feedback? Even like how often? I mean, we can ask this question to ourselves, right? Like how often do we press the thumbs up and thumbs down button for a output that comes in? So that means that UX designers should consider a refresh option also equivalent to what a thumbs up thumbs down is, which means that user didn't get the right output. Now we have seen few interfaces, like for example Zapier introduced Zapier agents, where the way Zapier agents is built is that when the output comes in, it will give you a draft of it, and then for each draft that is there, you could it is blurred out initially, and then you open one by one. So let's say in the second one you are happy with it, people do open it, then you don't have to open the other one. But there are some shortcomings to this also, where it's like, then why did you show me 4 of them, or those sort of things that keeps coming in. But you keep iterating to figure out what sort of better error implementations can you do, such that the ability of latency is much faster and stuff like that. So that's it.
So there was a question related to it. We have often seen a lot of tools, showcasing how the output is being processed once the input is entered, right? Is this also related to this particular angle where, just waiting for output to get generated, rather than that you showcase that, hey, it is being processed, it is being analyzed, and this is how the thought process is going on from the model side, and then it showcases the result. I wanted to know, from my individual perspective, at times I don't like, I just want to get the answer, and at times, I mean, I don't often read the process, what is being processed, and in certain cases I also like to know, but I wanted to know in general, does this anno users and or do people also prefer that, okay, how the output is being processed, I want to know, so that I am well aware that, okay, the machine has understood it very properly. So
So I think what you're talking about is the reasoning aspect that is coming, that we are seeing currently, where
yeah,
you give an input, then it says I'm thinking this, I'm doing this, and I'm
yeah,
doing this as
yeah,
well. So there are two aspects to it. One is that, let's say, they are showing that to you such that to make you understand that the latency it is taking to do that is being covered. That is one.
exactly, yeah,
But let's say you are someone who is still reading the reasoning, right? Then also, like, let's say it is doing a particular reasoning, it is showing a particular step where I'm thinking this, and you don't want the AI to think that. There is no way for you to stop it. You have
exactly,
to stop the entire operation and again give a better prompt or something, which makes you feel more frustrated because you're doing it like double. That is still a problem. That is a problem that came along with the innovation. So, like, as soon as the deep sea came up with reasoning aspect, everyone started adopting it, and that's when the difference. What happened here is that previously internet access was not there. Now the internet access is there, which is large amount of data to process. Hence the increased latency that is happening. But it's a complete tech problem, which will take significant time to solve also. But what could be better is you don't need such massive reasoning documents that you are showing. What you created as a way to divert people from understanding the the delayed latency is almost becoming frustrating now to see like long documents of it. We could rather that could all be in the back end, but rather we could have a much more simplified version of it, of just showing 4 or 5 tasks at a time, and then the next four tasks. What currently is happening is it is showing, if it is doing 50 steps, it is showing all 50 steps at a single time. So you don't, like, which is of no use to the user, right? Like, you show
Yeah.
first 4 steps, next 4 steps. A smaller window design could
mm,
help that. If you don't show in, like, ChatGPT even iterated with it, like, with their UX also. Like, a few users started seeing this thing where you won't see the entire documentation. You would see a simple loading bar of the data getting loaded. Or much more better way of dealing with it is that the AI is doing the research, or AI is doing the thing. It could give a message saying that you can go and do anything you want. Once the message is ready, we will intimate you, or a pop-up or a push notification appears. That is a much better UX, such that you're saying that you go and do whatever you want. Whenever it's ready, I'll let you know. So that is a much better UX to go with. So that is what in fact, in one of the products that we tried, that is what we tried to do. Like, research is happening. Once it's done, a push notification comes in, and you get back to the platform and you see, okay, fine, this is what output.
Yeah, and so just on this piece, right? I was listening to a conversation with the CEO of Perplexity,
Okay.
and one of the things that he mentioned was that they, instead of sending the responses, they started streaming the response. What that essentially means is that there's a difference between how AI generates a response and how human generates a response. So if Jai, you ask a question, I will first think of the complete answer and then I will start speaking the answer. But
yeah,
that's not how AI works. AI is generating on the go. So let's say if you ask a prompt, um, and it generates a response that is 300 words, let's say. Um, it will start to stream the response to you as soon as it's written like 50 words. When it has written 50 words, it doesn't know what are the last 50 words.
It doesn't. It just keeps
So,
going.
so it doesn't know. It just keeps going word after word. And
yeah,
so that's why latency, you will see that OpenAI, Gemini, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, you will not feel that much latency because the response is being streamed to you. It will take you longer to read the 50 words than it takes ChatGPT to write the next 50 words. So you start to get the response very, very quickly. However, this becomes a huge problem for SaaS products that are wrappers on top of it because they cannot stream the response. They have to wait for ChatGPT to stream the response to them and then send it out to the user. And that's why sort of solve that's why the solutions that Kaushik is talking about, right? Which is how do you deal with latency within your SaaS product, which is a wrapper on top of some other LLM. How do you deal with that? Because the user uses your product as well as ChatGPT, and then the user feels that ChatGPT is significantly faster, and you, which is a wrapper on ChatGPT, is extremely slow. And so that's why it needs to be sort of fixed. But this sort of brings me to another point, like another question also that I have from in terms of generative AI adoption by SaaS founders and their customers and UX. So how else? It's like, what are the metrics that you recommend a SaaS founder measure or a product manager measure, such that they will know that the UX change that they have made is actually working? Because if so, as an example, like if I make a UX change and if I start to see more people using it more frequently, that could also be because my engine is poor, and so people need to use it more often to get the response. Or it could also be that my engine is extremely valuable, and so like, what are the metrics that would tell a product manager that, hey, good job on the UX front?
The usual set of things that we would notice or we would look out for is that what is your what is the per hour reading capability of your user. It is a different metric. What we are talking about is an average human being reading capability is 250 words per minute is the average human capability. So
Oh wow, so it's like 4 words a second.
I mean, you're just glancing through and going through.
Okay, got it.
So now let's say if you overall, there is a research from OpenAI also which says that 30,000 words is what a human can, 30,000 output words is what a human, no, 15,000 output words, 15,000 input words, 15,000 output words is what a human can comprehend per hour. Now this is what they use to do the costing for the tokens and everything. That's why the research went behind. Now, let's say you have designed any Gen AI product, right? Now it is creating an output. Let's say you created an output so detailed and so much that it is not useful for the user. That is what is very often happening. In fact, in the reasoning model, when you click on it, the output that comes is almost a pages and pages level that is there. You are probably again using an AI to summarize that output that came out. So you trying to understand what is the right output amount that your user can comprehend is very important. So that is a metric for you to look out for. So that also optimizes that is something the UX designer will report to the product manager saying that, okay, fine, this is the set of thing that has come up. Then this is the output that came from LLM. Now then your UX designer will think that I'm pretty sure that my user is going to say that I want this to be summarized. So what are the ways to summarize? So should I give an automatics, simplify this button over there such that when you click on it, gets simplified automatically? Do I have to introduce some new innovations over there because of this particular factor? This is one. Then your amount of feedback that is coming in on a regular basis. That is another metric that you should very keenly look out for. It is a metric for two reasons. Any Gen AI product that gets built is not perfect. You have to be ready to be dissatisfied with the output it is giving. This is given because the process itself is based on fine tuning.
Key to happiness is low expectations.
Yeah, extreme low expectations is AI. So the way it works is that a little deviation, but very quickly I'll just brief this. You're scoping your product, whatever the feature or AI feature that you're trying to do. Then you deploy it. You think that if that's where it is done, it is just 10% of your AI product. Then comes internal evaluation, where your AI engineers are basically what they're trying to do is they're giving an input and they're seeing if the right output is coming. Right output won't come. So what they do is they keep going back and fine tuning it on a regular basis until they are satisfied that okay, fine, this is ready for deployment. And once it goes to deployment, you will start seeing biases. Okay. For example, I'll give you an example. There was a chatbot that was deployed for a healthcare industry, and in the deployment, what they observed is that if you type the surgeon needs to do so and so, what should be the output? Anything of that thing. The output says that he should come up with something like this. Now, how did it come to a conclusion that a surgeon should be a he only? Right? So this is something which you would notice. You cannot notice because some user is typing and that is the output that is coming in. So what all UX is, so if a user is reporting on it or any sort of biases, you need to categorize your feedbacks also into these are biases, these are proper prompt latency based issues. You have to divide the feedback itself in this case and then report back. So number of feedbacks that you are getting and also the quality of feedbacks that you are getting needs to be monitored continuously. So these are few things that you need to pay attention to. I would even go to an extent to say that if you are giving multi-draft outputs, that is there, the quality between each output, which output is getting clicked the more, and all
Sorry,
those
what
things.
did you say? Multi what?
So the draft option that I mentioned, right?
Okay.
The output
Got it. Multi-draft output. Okay.
So mostly what happens is that draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, draft 4. Draft 2 is probably working on a very similar fine-tuned model. Draft 3 is on another fine-tuned option. Draft 4 is on another fine-tuned option. So irrespective of the question, draft 2 is still working on a same fine-tuned option. So if more people are opting draft 3 over draft 2, that means that there is something wrong with your draft 2 fine-tuning. So you need to go back and check it. So so the click ratio of within the draft output is also something to look out for. So these kind of things are some key factors, at least in this stage, to look out for.
It is so interesting because I was just day before yesterday I was trying out a product which made a promise saying that we'll generate ebooks in seconds. So like I remember the website saying write ebooks in seconds, not weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is going to change the game. This is going to change my world. And I tried it out. It was so frustrating. It probably also speaks to my entitlement in thinking that I'll put in a prompt and it'll give me exactly what I need when I need it. But yeah, so that this is a genuine real problem. But sorry, Jai, you had a question.
Yeah, but no, I mean, so this is little bit different, but more still related to UX and GenAI. So we have seen, and I actually read it in one of the articles of different contexts, but it mentioned that there are more drop-offs in GenAI tools which are having mobile interface compared to desktop. So is there any specific reason that you have spotted, or why there are more drop-offs in mobile, why people are only preferring it to use it over a desktop?
So this depends on two reasons. One is, so if you would have noticed, OpenAI also released the mobile version very later. They introduced the web version first. And the reason for that was, it's purely from a model perspective. Usually LLMs function great initially when they came up. Now they are very efficient at it. Initially when they came up, they were very good at web, but they were very bad to be deployed in mobile. Now currently we are seeing similar problems with SLMs also. SLMs still struggle with it, where desktop they are able to function well, but when it comes to multi level interfaces that it needs to be on, if it's a mobile or if it's a like for example, if you are in a healthcare industry, and in the healthcare industry you would have if you want some Gen AI output to be displayed within the device of the medical device that is there, then it hasn't reached to that level where I can send that data and reflect that data over there. So those sort of small limitations are there. It's a tech based problem actually, rather than a UX based problem. The drop offs shouldn't be there because technically, if you think, we always say mobile first. For any of them in the previous, even for websites, we say mobile first. It's more better if AI is actually mobile first because, but it's from tech side, so there has been some latency. Still, I think till today, even Gemini struggles with being on mobile compared to, and we are talking about one of the leading, tech people that's out there. Very, very recently they came on mobile. It was
Like
chat.
they own Android. So,
They own Android and they
oh,
own on mobile.
yeah.
So it's a tech deployment difficulty that we are seeing, and people are basically it's been on mobile. And also one more thing is that, like for example, I have more. Let's say I'm writing a code to generate a game. I can display it in multiple windows within a screen. I have more room for it. In
Yeah.
mobile, I have lesser room to display it. I probably have to scroll like 2-3 times and show it. So that again becomes a problem. So would I see the code or would I see the preview? So that itself is a problem. So those UX, from a UX perspective, that those are things that should be adjusted. Like for example, I don't have to scroll. I can have it as multiple tabs on the top, and just shift across from code to preview, preview to code. I can keep moving. But the code to preview itself just came like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
I think going forward is what these changes you will see. So yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. And I want to call out one thing that is interesting information for all our viewers and listeners, but both of you may have also missed on this is that just yesterday evening we held an event which is where we talked about how AI shapes UX, and pixel prompts and power, how generative AI is a UX designer's best friend. And today we are talking about how UX shapes generative AI adoption, right? So this was not even planned, right? So it was not planned for it to happen this way, but the stars aligned in some way, shape, or form, and here we are, which essentially talks about the deep collaboration that AI and UX. So what UX is doing for AI, and then also what AI is doing for UX as well. But this brings us to the end of our conversation for today. Thank you to everyone who joined in, and hope this conversation was valuable and meaningful for you. If you're a SaaS founder who has built out a wrapper on top of any LLM within your product, and you're looking for improving the UX, you're facing challenges in terms of its adoption by your users or customers, or you're facing critical feedback on it on your review platforms or in your chat support, do consider reaching out to us. Kaushik has done very interesting amount of research. We'd be happy to share with you the things that we've learned, some examples that you could learn from and implement as well. The other thing that I would also like to mention is that your we have, like, our cat budget is dependent on your subscriptions. if you subscribe if you subscribe to the channel, if you comment, if you like, then our cat gets food. If you don't think about us, think about the kittens, and the food that you are not giving them by not subscribing. So please consider subscribing,
You just,
or liking or commenting.
you just introduced a Schrodinger's cat by just that statement. The cat lives or dies based on the subscription now.
Yeah, it's based on the subscription, right? So it's in a state of uncertainty. But as soon as you click subscribe, we will be certain, right? So, but until you hit that, it's in a state of uncertainty. But thank you for being with us, and we'll see you again next week with an interesting topic on how SaaS and AI can work together. Until next time, bye bye.
Right.